Hi guys and welcome to Strength Universe. Following on from my recent video looking at the history and progression of the bench press world record, I thought I'd make a second episode, this time focusing on the deadlift. And in order to do that we first need to go back in time to look at the origins of the deadlift in competition, which began on the 8th of March 1891, when the first major international weightlifting competition was held in London, and as part of the two-day event, a dead weightlifting contest was held. But rather underwhelmingly was the fact that the weight used was only £180, and the contest was easily won by Edward Lawrence Levy. There was little progress over the next 2 decades until in 1911 when the British Amateur Weightlifting Association was born, but initially it struggled to gain popularity, partly due to the outbreak of the First World War. The importance of the BAWLA became clear when Herman Gorner came to England in 1927. Using the English style of deadlifting that required the heels to be kept together throughout the lift, the bar was pulled to knee height. Gorner managed to pull 653 pounds, while later reports claimed that he managed deadlifts in excess of 700 pounds. Thanks to the BAWLA, Gorner's efforts were refereed, recorded and importantly verified. In the US during the early 1930s, the Amateur Athletic Union was interested in improving American Olympic performances, which meant that pure strength meets were few and far between. Meanwhile, in the UK, such was the BAWLA's growing popularity at this time that in 1933, the Federation published a defined set of rules for the deadlift. In 1938, a British strongman and wrestler, Bert Azarati, supposedly deadlifted 800 pounds. But the lift was done outside of the BAWLA and thus was not verified. The deadlift did not progress in Europe over the next few years due to the outbreak of the Second World War. However, in the US, deadlift competitions started to be held on a semi-regular basis. By this time, weight training of all kinds had increased in popularity. By 1949, the Tennessee farm boy Bob Peoples pulled a new world record of 725 pounds that would stand for the next 12 years. Bob Peoples' record stood until 1961 when it was broken by Canadian Ben Coate, who became the first person to deadlift in excess of 750 pounds. The problem was that I could find absolutely no details about Ben. After a lot of research I stumbled across a 236-page PDF, and on page 66 I found this picture, which I assumed was the elusive Ben Coate, that every single major publication I had come across had spelt incorrectly, and thus I would imagine this is the reason they could provide no details about him. In 1965, the first official AAU sanctioned powerlifting meet took place in Pennsylvania. The event was covered in sports magazines from across the globe and ignited interest in the squat, bench press and deadlift. In 1969, 6'3", 283 pound Don Cundy became the first person to deadlift 800 pounds.
Oppbytte, og hva sier dommerne? Godkjent.
1972 saw the formation of the International Powerlifting Federation, who standardised the rules of the sport. John Cook set a new deadlift world record while competing at the IPF World Championships in 1974 at a body weight of just 110 kilograms or 242 pounds. The multiple world powerlifting champion and world's strongest man, Don Reinhold, became the first person to deadlift 400 kilograms or 882 pounds in 1975. Although this lift is listed as an equipped lift, I'm finding it hard to corroborate this. Doyle Kennedy became the first person to pull over 900 pounds while equipped in a single-ply suit at the 1986 USPF Budweiser World Record Breakers competition. Doyle's record stood until 1992 when it was beaten by Garry Heisey at the WBA World Submasters and Masters competition. Garry was also equipped in a single-ply deadlift suit. Nearly 3 decades later, Garry's deadlift is still the 3rd highest of all time in a full meet in single-ply equipment. Garry Heisey's world record stood for the best part of a decade until it was beaten by Garry Frank in 2002 at the WPO semi-finals. Garry's world record was the first to be set with the use of a multiply deadlift suit. Garry Frank's record lasted less than 6 months before being beaten by powerlifting legend Andy Bolton at the World Powerlifting Congress WPO Finals in 2003. November 2005 would see probably the greatest deadlifter of all time, Benedikt Magnússon, pull a raw 440 kilograms to set a new world record. Benny's record would only last 5 months before being broken by Andy Bolton, who pulled 440.5 kilograms in a multiply deadlift suit. Andy then extended his world record just over 6 months later, becoming the first person in history to pull over 1,000 pounds. Just over 18 months later, Andy extended his record to 457.5 kilograms or 1,008 pounds. And even today, 12 years later, it still stands as the all-time record in the equipped multiply division in a full meet. Benny would set a new world record in 2011 by pulling 460 kilograms raw for what is still considered the greatest deadlift of all time. A decade later, Benedikt Magnússon still holds the all-time powerlifting record and the all-time raw world record. The 2014 Europe's Strongest Man would be the start of complete domination of the Deadlift World Record by Strongman competitors. In my opinion, this domination is due to the increased interest of the deadlift created by the World Deadlift Championships and the complete removal of grip limitations through the use of figure 8 straps. At the 2014 Europe's Strongest Man, Benedikt Magnússon would extend his world record by 1 kilogram even with the use of a deadlift suit and straps. Although he'd suffered from several injuries by this point, it does go to show how little some competitors gain out of a deadlift suit.
It's a new world record, it's an all-time record in any...
There was some controversy at this competition after Eddie Hall also lifted 461 kilograms. But he effectively dropped the weight, which is against the rules, and thus was given a no lift by head referee Magnus for Magnuson.
What are we seeing?
Eddie Hall would finally capture the world record the following year at the 2015 Arnold Australia Expo, and he would do so without the use of a deadlift suit, but with the use of figure 8 straps. Eddie would extend the world record just 4 months later at the 2015 World Deadlift Championships, again without the use of a deadlift suit but with the use of figure 8 straps. Almost exactly 1 year later at the 2016 World Deadlift Championships, Eddie Hall became the first person to lift half a ton, although this was with the use of a multiply deadlift suit. The final world record as of the time of making this video was set on the 2nd of May 2020 by Hafthor Bjornsson, but due to the coronavirus pandemic the lift was done outside of competition, and despite the fact that the weights, bars and collars were weighed in a live stream and the lift was refereed by 4 times world's strongest man Magnuson, some feel that the lift should be considered as an unofficial world record. That brings me to the end of the video, but I'd like to leave a comment below letting me know who you think was the greatest deadlifter of all time and who you think has had the biggest influence on the world record. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's allowed me to use their footage in making this video, and I've left links to their social media in the description below. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, please help support my channel by smashing like, sharing the video and subscribing. Thank you.